Welcome to Pensare Basketball, and you will see a familiar face here. That's Ersin Demir, one of my favorite draft people in the world, period. Put us on to Chucky Hepburn when most of us were not really curious or, aware of Chucky Hepburn, and Chucky Hepburn has been one of my favorite things about the Raptors 905 so far. Also, we had plenty of discussions about the 2025 draft, and so far, the 2025 draft is off to a rocking start. Cooper Flag just had probably his best game last night. We're seeing Con Knipple lighting up the league, potentially rookie of the year Con Knipple right now. We're seeing Kaman Malawach is a little bit of a project, if that's a fair thing. We're seeing, Cedric Coward looking every bit of, the Kawhi comparisons that were being levied towards him. And the Toronto Raptors have a first round pick in Colin Murray-Boyles, who has been spectacular. So we're going to look at some Colin Murray-Boyles film. We're going to get Ersin's reaction to it. We're also going to look at a little bit of Jamal Shead. From our members only live last night, we broke down a lot of Jamal Shead tape. We're going to see what Ersin thinks of Jamal. And finally, we're going to talk not only about the 2025 draft and just any observations that Ersin has, but also about the 2026 draft, because the Toronto Raptors, it's never too early to start thinking about the 2026 draft. This draft is loaded at the top. The Toronto Raptors will not be picking at the top. Most likely, they're currently 8-5. They're going to be a good team this year. Okay, shout outs. The Toronto Raptors are a good team this year, and that doesn't mean that you can't find value, because last I checked, Colin Murray-Boyles was not a top 5 pick. Jamal Shead wasn't a first round pick. Jamison Battle wasn't even drafted. There's value everywhere. And we're going to outline the centers, the wing prospects, the guard prospects that the Raptors fans should be paying attention to as we roll into December, as we roll into March Madness. Who should we be paying attention to? So, Ersin, how are you doing, man?
Hey, Rob, thanks again for having me on, man. I'm looking forward to it. Before the season started, we were like, okay, the Raptors can really compete for the 6th seed this year. That might be another crazy idea, looking at how the team is doing. Great month of November. I think 5-1 or 6-1 record. So great momentum, man.
We are currently 4th in the Eastern Conference, which, given the schedule that we have had so far, is crazy. Absolutely. And it's not because of shooting luck, because last I checked, Brandon Ingram, our sniper, starting small forward, is shooting 25% from three. And our non-shooting 9th overall pick, who couldn't buy a three to save his life last year at South Carolina, is currently shooting 50% from three, and he hasn't been guarded for a single one of them. So, I want to take you through a little bit of Colin Murray-Boyles' film, and I just want your feedback on each of these plays as we go through them. And just, is this something that you see? Is this totally who he is? What does this project forward? So here, set a screen here for, first of all, love his screen setting. And I think we saw this in South Carolina, right? Just a big physical dude. His release, his catch, his hands to catch this pass here, that one hand catch, gather, and right over the shot blocker, Bismack Biyombo. Anything you see there?
Yeah, man. Look how wide he pivots, man, on that game right there. And what I like the most about him is as you said, how he screens. He's really, hard tagging and immediately diving to the rim, man. It's full of energy. The motor is consistent. That's what you love to have. And he was getting the undersized 5 label. That might be true. He's about 6'8", maybe 6'9" on a good day.
He's six
But look
seven.
how he's playing with energy, and the motor is consistent.
He
And
plays six
South
nine.
Carolina,
Yeah, he plays 6'9", but he's definitely closer to 6'6.5". But those long arms, big hands, that like that low center of gravity, he did a great job on Wemby when he got cross matched onto him. He's had a hell of a run so far. He's had to guard Anthony Davis. He's had to guard Victor Wembanyama, Alperen Şengün, Evan Mobley. He's had, they've started him at center when Jakob Poeltl was out, and he performed about as admirably as you could hope. Here, Jamal Shead, the two players that we're actually going to be talking about, Jamal Shead, this little pass to, and again, that pass is a little bit off target, but just watch how he is able to gather that. It's behind him. Look at that. It's behind him, throws it behind him, no problem. Gather, no problem. Those big mitts, right?
yeah, man, the big hands, just like, with Kawhi when he was drafted. It's crazy that the guy falls like that. Not to compare him, and not to compare him to Draymond either, but I think this is the type of guy. Draymond's what, 6'7", but he knows how to defend. He can, hold his own against 7-footers. He, boxed out Wemby on that game-winning tip potentially, at the last Spurs game. And Colin
Absolutely.
Murray-Boyles have the same type of thing, the little things, the feel for the game, and how he uses his hands, to catch the most difficult passes as a roller, as a diver. And I think in South Carolina, he was a one-man show. They are a horrible team, man, last year, horrible. If you look at that roster, that's not a Power Five roster. But yeah, he had to do it with the way that roster was shaped. He could basically run the show, and scaling his game down is much easier for him right now. And they leave him open
Absolutely.
at the 3-point line because the scouting report said this guy can't shoot threes. That might be true because 50% is crazy, man. It's not maybe not sustainable for an entire season, but you take it, right? You take it. If he shoots 30% from three, you take it because he maybe made shot 5 threes in his entire career, and right now he has to make the open ones. And
Absolutely.
that's the best thing that you buy here, that low man gravity inside the rim. So weak side helper on the defensive end, but also as a play finisher, man. It's that energy guy. This guy's motor is crazy. The best one in the draft, no doubt.
He's got a great motor, but he's also got some insane awareness. Here, he's about to slip out to the corner, sees the play change here as Jamal Shead splits the defenders, stops on a dime, realizes there's nobody at the rim, and one of my best passers is coming right downhill. Let me give him an outlet for a little tip, a little alley oop there. Once again, running the court here with Brandon Ingram, and once again, take the defender at the rim, finish through contact. I like his physicality is so impressive. Here once again, kind of slip the screen there. Ingram, one hand, and just gets on the elevator there. And again, it's just a lot of intelligence, right? Not really projecting the pass here. It's not obvious to the defender what he's about to do, but boom, snap, right? Just a really cerebral, intelligent basketball player who consistently does the right shit all the time. We'll definitely get into some of the
And
3-point shots and like some of the defense, but anything you've seen so far here.
and the best things is he keeps the ball high. He did it to South Carolina as well. You saw it on the pass, man. It was basically a touch pass, at the elbow.
Hmm.
But a couple of plays before is how we kept the ball at his chest and then moved off of the layup. He's loading up his power. And as a passer, he's keeping the ball high because he's 6'7". He has no other choice. If he brings the ball down, he's wasting seconds. And that's what I like the most about the big men today. Not to compare to Gasol brothers or something, but the Gasol brothers were very good because they kept the ball high at all times. Because they were 7 footers, they could easily do that and with offensive rebounds, etc. But he's playing in a similar way. He's catching the ball high, immediately forcing the defenders to make a decision. Attacking closeout, keeping the ball moving or not. And if he's loading up, then it's something gonna happen, because he's trying to attack the chest. And I think in 2 plays before we saw that as well.
Hmm.
Just the little things, man. Because we see a lot of these fives catch the ball and then they make a play, set their feet or something like that. But he's always ready. I think he's one of the better ball movers, if that makes sense, despite him having a great role at South
Connective.
Carolina. Because yeah, exactly connected. And in
Well,
today's
yeah,
NBA motion game and a lot of ball movement, that's what you have to succeed in a smaller role, just like his.
I agree. And right now he has no scoring gravity outside of 20 feet. Just absolutely zero. But I actually think his superpower is driving the basketball. Loved his driving at South Carolina. He has a really good knack and instinct for it, a little bit like RJ Barrett, who is probably the Raptors' most effective driver off closeouts. And here you're gonna see what would happen. At least sometimes in theory, you get a taste of what happens when a non-shooter is guarded like a shooter or closed out to like a shooter, and you get a pocket of a window into time, right? Because right now, again, he's being left open for these threes. He only takes wide open threes right now, and he's making 50% of them. So shout outs to him. I like that he's willing to take those shots as opposed to being passive because you don't want to pass up wide open threes because then no one will respect you. So make the defender think. Now here he's making the defender think, and this is former defensive player of the year here, Jaren Jackson. This is no slouch, right? So he's going to trust his length here. But there was this game in Scotty's second season where Ben Simmons, for some reason, in the Nets at the time, started picking up Scotty at half court. And I have no idea why they were doing it. Scotty was playing a little bit of point in that game, and Scotty had no real gravity as a shooter. He was shooting abysmally from the field, but for some reason, the Nets played him like he could shoot. And suddenly he was just beating them downhill, beating them downhill. And you're like, man, when Scotty Barnes starts getting respected as a shooter, things are going to really open up for him. Now, watch what happens when Colin Murray-Boyles actually gets a closeout. Boom. That's not even a hard closeout. And he's still able to just, and that's a great defender, right? And he forces the miss here, gets his own offensive rebound, and yams it. So I just think when this guy, if this guy ever is able to draw a closeout, it is going to be curtains for the league, right? Because he's so, I don't want to say shifty. He's not shifty, but what do you see in this three? We're going to look at a bunch of threes that he's taken here, but like, what do you like or not like about his form? Is he shot ready enough? Is this a replicable form? Is there something wrong with it?
I don't know, he's going too fast. I think he's setting his feet. You know, he's bending his knees while he's also moving the ball up for the shot. You know, I think he's going a little bit too fast. But right now, you just take it because this guy is basically learning how to shoot threes, if that makes sense. He was
It
never
is.
asked to do the shoot. Because right now he's okay, he's pivoting and attacking the closeout, but he's not, you know, beating you with finesse or with speed, but more so with these angles, man. You saw that how Jaren Jackson was closing out on him. They gave
Mhm.
away the baseline, you know, and that's what he has to take. And he can trust his you know his gravity as a physical specimen inside. I think as a 3 point shooter, no one will respect him. You know, even if he shoots 50% for next month as well, because yeah, we saw it, man. This guy was wide open on these threes, man. Because they was like, okay, this guy can shoot. We will live with him taking threes in the game. If he makes two, okay, bad luck for us. But if the other guys is that wide open, it's a problem. You know, they're kind of hedging their chances. Right now, it's falling the Raptors' way. But if this guy is starting to miss threes, he still has the decision making on his side. You know, in how he attacks closeout, draw
Right.
contact, and make a decision there. So, you know, the 3 point shot doesn't really matter that much, if that makes sense.
Right. And this is something that the Raptors coaching staff also mentioned. They said it's pretty easy to change his habits because he has no habits. Like when it comes to threes, you don't have the problem of, certain young players and youth, like because they can't technically get the ball to the rim, they start heaving it from their chest. So they develop like bad shot mechanics. He doesn't really have bad shot mechanics because his shot has never really been extended out to three. So it's a lot like you're working with like a ball of clay that's never really been touched. So you know what? Like and this is just the defense, right? The hands. Everyone in Toronto right now is just talking about the hands. Look at now he picks up a lot of fouls, just to be clear, like many rookies, he picks up a lot of fouls. But look at the anticipation here. The ability to poke this away and just clean, poke it away, get out in transition early, and then watch the pursuit. Just able to get it again. That is such a monster defensive play, like to make multiple efforts on that play. And I think his entire, Raptors tenure so far has been defined by these types of like combo plays. Like he makes a great contest and then he'll get the rebound, or he'll make a steal attempt, won't get the steal, and then he'll still recover into the play, or he will get the steal and then he makes the great pitch ahead. I always think like when I think about like great players, I always think about like stringing together good decisions. He is like stringing together 2, 3 good decisions here. He's matched up on Wemby. Now, I actually have a controversial take. I think he's probably going to become the best matchup on Wemby until Wemby becomes much stronger because he can get into his dribble and he can match him step for step. And on the shot, he has just enough length, and I think the low center of gravity defenders really bother Wemby a lot. This was one of Wemby's worst games of the season in terms of just attempting shots because he just attempted like 9. And it's largely due to plays like this, where that's a scoring chance for Wemby that just gets blown up because of a pass being tipped away. Once again, here he is, on Wemby, but here, Scotty recovers back to Wemby, and here he's going to have Castle going to the rim, and he just erases it at the rim. So again, the Raptors don't have a lot of rim protection, but he is one of the rare guys who is able to do something for them. Any takeaways on that before we get to Jamal Shead tape?
If you look at how he's using his physicality against Wemby, man, because physical guys win against Wemby. We saw it with Draymond as well. You know,
Yes.
in that Spurs game, it doesn't matter if you're 6'10" or 6'7", because you can match up with him in terms of your footwork, defensive footwork. We saw it, and then he has the advantage with his strength. And what I like about him is he doesn't gamble for his steals. Okay, he's overhelping on the first play that you saw with the elbow wide open. But yeah, again, you're experimenting, right, in the NBA, and he's playing in a much faster league right now because South Carolina was, yeah, man, they were half court minded. there's no real takeaway from there, man. He really had to adjust to the speed of the league. But right now, if he's already shown these things, it's just the feel for the game will eventually only get better with more reps. And we saw it in that play against Wemby as well because he's patient. He's
He is
patient where
patient.
he because if
Yeah.
he's going to initiate contact, Wemby, he's not going to lose that battle. Maybe he's going to shoot over him, but yeah, that's a shot that you live with, right? If a guy like that is shooting from the elbow off the dribble
Mm-hmm.
with
Absolutely.
the
And I've
driving lane
loved
is not
his
open.
exactly, and I've loved his synergy with Sandro Mamukelashvili and Jamal Shead. Like those three to me with Grady have been such a cheat code. They often play those four with Brandon Ingram or Scotty Barnes or RJ Barrett, typically Brandon Ingram. And Ingram is just able to provide enough of an outlet for that group, just in terms of shot creation, isolation scoring. And then CMB is just able to do all the connective stuff, setting screens for Mamu, getting off the glass, setting away from the ball screens for, Grady. Like it's just such a interesting thing because when the Toronto Raptors look at like when people look at the Toronto Raptors from the outside in, they think like this guy, right? I'm glad we finally have a good team around Ingram. They think like this person, right? Scotty has been a great role player this year. I'm proud of his growth. This is to me insane. Like this is not what's happening at all on the basketball court. What's happening on the court is you have a very imperfect starting lineup that involves 4 to 5 very talented players who are all above average starters in the NBA, none of whom has really played like a superstar. If anyone has played anything close to a superstar this year, it has been Scotty Barnes. Ingram has not looked like a star superstar. He's not sniffing all-star with what he's doing. But Ingram does enough uh, in terms of drawing defensive effort, like drawing defenses to him, where he's able to open up entire pockets of space for RJ quickly, Jakob, Scotty, and all of his teammates are way more effective. So the Ingram effect is really just the gravity of his scoring. I think for the second unit, Sandro, Jamal, Grady, and frankly, CMB being so insanely smart, they're just able to use each other really well. And here we're going to look at one of my favorite point guards. Uh, can I say of all time? Like, I just love Jamal Shead's game so much. I loved him with the Houston Cougars. I wasn't completely sure how it would translate to the NBA because he does have so many limitations, but he is just this classic old school point guard. He just uses his teammates so well. Now, some of these players are going to be not so great. This is one of them, not so great. This will come maybe, a little bit more patience, perhaps, a little bit compromised shot clock. But just this patience, the ability to hold his dribble, not pick it up, use his teammates. Once again, just that little half step to sort of allow that differentiation. And what I was really counting, does this look like a shot or a pass to you?
This should be a pass, man, but I think he's going to shoot
Exactly. That's my point. I'm so glad you said that. That's
it.
my point because he never projects it. He never projects. And this is to me the Jamal Shead superpower. You can't completely tell what he's about to do. In that case, you had no idea he was about to throw a pass because we didn't even see the guy there. Right. And just his ability to constantly, he doesn't score well. Like, but look, okay, I brought this up during our members only live yesterday. This is a 60-foot pass. Okay. This is to Sandro in the corner. Look at how fucking accurate this is.
Yeah, man, and he trusts his instincts. And in hindsight, it's very easy to say that, but this guy went to Houston in the second year, he wasn't really relevant, but he grew into a role. Work hard. And at Houston, no one defends like them in the NBA. No chance. Maybe in the playoffs. Maybe
This is one of my
in the
favorite
game
plays
against
right
Boston.
here. This is one of my favorite plays right here. Watch this. This is a dribble handoff with Sandro. Just closes the gap a little bit with Sandro, right? Now freezes the defender, pulls him out, goes right back in. Is this a pass or a shot?
I think this is going to be a drop off pass, man.
You are correct. But the defender didn't know that because he jumped at him like he was about to shoot a layup. And that's the thing. He just keeps doing this where he is able to freeze the defense just long enough to open up a pocket of space for one of his offensive players to attack.
Can you go a
Here,
couple of seconds back to that previous play? I think one of the best things that he did here is if you go a little bit back before he drives, he kind of went right when not on this one, the next one.
yeah, I know.
With the drop off pass. But it kind of went right when the lane was there. I think that was so smart, man, because here, okay, we're going to the moving. We're going
It's
to
just
create the strong
see,
side and the weak side, if that makes sense.
yeah, this is not really necessarily an effective screen by Sandro. It's not like Sandro makes contact, but the fact that he cuts off the screen angle here, it just puts the defender off balance. Watch the defender, number 26. He falls off balance, right? Because he
Yeah,
cuts like a tight angle to Sandro, and then he sort of beelines to the basket. So
and
tell
I
me what
like
your
this one because he could have slipped between both and took that angle in the middle. The driving lane was wide open, but he's going right because he know I'm going to force decision inside, and someone's going to move. But he had multiple passing options because he could have kicked the ball out from there as well.
I
But he
think
went with the
it's
tougher drop off.
exactly, and I think the decision to get the ball to Sandro is made right here because he sees how Sandro is moving towards the rim, and he's just like, okay, let me manipulate the defense, see if I can get anything open, and then boom, dump off right here, right? So it's just like it's really interesting to watch him sort of see a play ahead. He's not like visionary. He's not Jason Kidd. He's not Mark Jackson in terms of like he can't see 2, 3 plays ahead, but he sees a play ahead better than just about anybody on this team other than Scotty Barnes. Like he's so good at this little pass here. Pascal Siakam, the low man. That means no defense at the rim and Yam. So this lineup of Quickly and Shed, 27 minutes plus 26 net rating. So 26, they're outscoring opponents by 26 points per 100 possessions with
I
these
like
two.
this play, man, because he throws in his arm twice. Look how he beats him, man. Just off of will. Not power, but will, man. The previous play. I watched that one before we went live as well. How he, physical early and how he, uses his arm. That's not a dirty play, but that's him being tough. I think that's the pedigree of Houston, man, because no one plays like them in
Look
terms
at
of how
this one.
physical they want to play.
Look at this one. Look at how accurate he is on this pass, and look at the pass. This is insane.
Yeah, man. It's just this over the head. Look at that. The guy wiping the floor is also.
And it's just like he's not a good paint scorer. He's not a good jump shooter. He's shooting 43% too. So shout outs to these two guys for not being good shooters, but they're able to, and just through the patience to sort of probe, picks up his dribble there, but he's able to probe. And then here, Grady pass it back to Jamal Shead, a little bit off target, but boom, just like that fake Dean Wade goes right, he goes left. And here, is this a pass or a shot?
Nah, this has to be a pass, man.
It is. But nobody realizes it until it's already made, right?
Yeah, because
Here
he's going up like he's going to score, right?
But that's exactly how you should pass. You should always pass with the threat to score because you don't want to get yourself trapped. Now, one guy who gets himself trapped all the time is Emmanuel Quickly. He picks up his dribble, but here, boom, same thing. That's Evan Mobley, right? Now here, pass or shot.
This should be a finish, man.
It's not.
Yeah, look at that.
It's just
This
like,
guy's an
I mean,
angle
that's
magician,
that's
man.
Evan Mobley, right? At the rim. He's gonna block you. Evan Mobley's like, I'm about to block this guy. Everybody thinks he's gonna block this guy, but it's not because he's already seeing the peripheral vision to know that Scotty was gonna cut into that space. And Donovan Mitchell, of course, falling asleep off the ball. What's new, right? So once again, it's just the patience to probe, use your teammates. This is a very simple pass to Scotty Barnes here. Just take a look at some of the shooting here has been better, frankly. And this is probably the worst shot he takes, to be honest. This is down, shot clock down. This is terrible. But other than that, like for the most part, the standstill corner shooting stuff has been pretty good for him. Here Grady attacks the closeout, pass, loses the ball on the drive, throws it out to Jamal Shead, total bailout, but steps into it confidently, takes the jump shot, 15 seconds to go, makes it. If he can start hitting at 40% clip, because he's another guy who just isn't guarded. You can see how much Larry Nance backed off of him there, right? That's a bank shot. So, and then defensive process, man, like he is pesky. Not a good defender. I don't think he's a good defender at all, but he's tries hard enough. He's active, engaged. He forces some mistakes. He gets into your dribble. He's persistent, gives multiple efforts, tries to fight around screens. He does everything. Like, there's nobody on this team, I would say, who is maximizing their God given gifts more than this guy. And you have to salute that. Look at this. Also, this is going to be, nice. Jamison battle. Another, victory for the Raptors draft staff and scouting staff. Jamison battle has been amazing, right? Just that's the compete level, right? To be a 6-foot guard and just kind of go up for
Yeah.
that offensive rebound here, pick the passing lane. Just the
But
small
honestly, he
things.
doesn't have to be a good point of attack defender. He doesn't have to. He's a 6 foot guard, man, because even if he's very good, he's 6 foot. That's the harsh reality of the league. But he's elite in terms of being a team defender, recognizing
Yes,
these angles for his steals. He's not gambling for steals. If he puts up 2 steals a game and he gives up 10 points, these points steals have no value. But he's making the right decision. I think it's harder to be a great team defender early in your career than be a great defender in college in isolation or in pick and roll,
of
and
course.
then move from there. Because yeah, you
Exactly.
basically have to learn the game over and over again. But
This
I think
isn't
that's the
impossible.
result of going to college for 4 years and staying at the program, which is known for his defense.
He's also
I think
really
it's a
smart.
positive.
Yeah, he's smart and he's persistent. Like here, he's facing a 2-on-1 at the basket. Both guys coming at him full speed ahead are both bigger than him. He has no chance. So all he has to do right now, to me, if I'm coaching this, I'm like, all I want from Jamal Shead is stop the man with the ball and force a pass so that Grady can get back into the play. Now Grady is going to be late, kind of, he's sprinting as fast as he can, but there's a human limit to how fast and what Grady can do in this situation. And this results in a dunk, but he did his job in that case, right? And it's just like once again we see, look here, it's a small thing, but here look at him boxing out Pascal Siakam, right? He's giving up 9 inches and a ton of wingspan, and still he jumps and he actually tips the ball, right? That to me is persistent effort. Now, does Siakam obviously get it? Yeah, that's 7'3" wingspan, much bigger guy. Of course, he's gonna get it, but it's just like it's the effort. That's what I care
But
about
look
with
how
him.
he threw in his back because he was forcing the over the back rebound to Siakam.
Absolutely. And even here, this intelligent play where he just, you know what, we have a foul to give. I have no chance on this matchup. I'm just gonna wrap Siakam up.
Yeah, this goes on to block him, just like these tight ends in the NFL. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so overall thoughts on the Raptors drafts over the last couple of years. My personal thing is Jacoby has looked really bad. I'm a big Jacoby Walter fan, but he hasn't looked great so far to start this season. Jamison Battle has been the savior of the season, if I'm being honest. Like in the limited minutes he's played, he's been amazing. Mobo is down with the G League. Battle has looked amazing. As I said, looked amazing. Jamal Shead and CMB have looked very good. Grady is turning a corner to some extent, but is still a putrid defender. Over Shamshi is currently out of the league. Sucks. Probably a health thing. I'm hearing it's a health thing. And Elijah Martin is turning a corner a little bit, looking pretty decent with the G League. It is interesting. Like it's is it Will Riley? It's Will Richardson or is it Will Richardson for Florida? It was Will Richardson, right?
Will Richard.
Yeah, Will Richards. Got both wrong. He's starting
I
now.
think it's Richard. Yeah.
It's
For
Will
the
Richards.
Warriors, right?
Yeah, he's starting and he's playing super well, super well. So he was teammates with Walter Clayton Jr. last year and Elijah Martin for that Florida Gators team that won the championship, the national championship. So he's looked good. I wonder if Elijah Martin can become something. Chucky Hepburn has been amazing for the G League so far. So we'll see. But overall, what are your thoughts on what the Raptors have done so far in the last couple of drafts?
It's crazy, man, because they're hit on all the second round picks and the undrafted ones, and they're not very good at the first round picks. It's interesting because I think the common denominator with the first round picks is they take guys on the classmen they have to develop physically.
Right.
I think with Jacoby Walters the same thing, Grady Dick is the same thing. And maybe that's not the best thing for the Raptors to do because we've seen with guys like Shed is they take experience and experience translates early. And they take guys, they draft smaller roles. And that makes me lean toward why wouldn't you go for an upperclassman, guy with experience? Just like, okay, he was a sophomore, Colin Murray-Boyles, but he had a lot of experience, in terms of playing his role. And if they take these one and done types of guys, the Raptors are not good at recognizing that talent. They are very good at recognizing the roles that they need right now, and buy early, buy cheap contracts. But again, they made some mistakes by overpaying some guys on the roster, just like Pirtle, for example. I think he's way overpaid. But
Well,
that's me
it's
disagreeing.
interesting
But
you say this. So looking back at the Raptors under Masai Ujiri, and Masai Ujiri did run the last two drafts. So in fairness to him, OG Anunoby was a multi-year college guy. Norman Powell was a multi-year college guy. Fred VanVleet was a 4-year senior. Pascal Siakam was a 3-year guy at New Mexico State. Almost every single draft success that the Raptors had, other than
yeah,
Scotty Barnes,
experience.
has been, guys who've had 2-3 years of experience. So that's interesting. And I'm glad that we're talking about this. So my view on this is you draft younger players because you get them in your system earlier and there's theoretically more potential. Now, it's not always the case. Pascal certainly had a ton of potential at 21 that maybe a lot of guys who were 18, 19 didn't have that level of potential, which is why, you identify the theoretical potential in a 21-year-old, 22-year-old junior or senior. But, there's also the fact that Jamison Battle is a 5-year guy. You just have more data with these guys. You can track their growth much better, right? Like with Scotty Barnes, you don't know where his shooting is going. You had no idea. You had to guess. Now, thankfully, it's trending in the right direction, but you had to guess from Florida State. But if he'd gone back to Florida State for 2 more years and you saw 26% become 33%, become 37%, now you have like something there. You're like, okay, consider AJ Mitchell, 3-year guy. I believe he was a 3-year guy, right? We saw growth every year from AJ Mitchell. So the Thunder saw growth for 3 years. You can track his progress somewhere else. So yeah, I tend to agree with you that maybe picking freshmen is a little bit hyped and a little bit overrated, and maybe sometimes it is just smart to pick the best player like that you really do believe in. Because and I mean at the same time, like obviously the best players are all pretty much going to be freshmen because Dylan Harper looks amazing, Con Knipple looks
Yeah,
amazing, and those guys are freshmen. But Sion James looks amazing too, and Ryan Cockbrenner looks amazing too, and those guys are 4-year seniors. So yeah, like I think this is a good transition, probably the smoothest transition ever to talk about the 2025 draft. What have you seen? What do you like? What do you not like?
I like the Hornets, man, because they hit on every pick that they had. Cole Brenner, Ty James, Con Knupel. I was wrong about Knupel, man. Knupel just looks like I'm gonna take over this team from LaMelo Ball, and you guys have to trade him, man, to make it happen. It's crazy how good he is early. And I think with Cooper Flag is more so the Mavericks' fault because I think he was playing some point guard as well. It's crazy, and they need one, but you don't experiment with a guy like that. You put him in his best position to play his role. And it's okay, he has to turn the corner eventually, but the Mavericks won't be good. And guys like Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen. Derek Queen has been amazing, man. If Tim Duncan is even, praising you, then yeah, man. That's but which we I say it doesn't even matter anymore.
I'm
There's a
curious,
lot
like,
of good
what's your
guys, but
biggest
on
I'm
losing
right?
teams.
What's your biggest so far I'm right versus I'm wrong?
Mhm.
So I'm assuming your I'm wrong is Concanipple.
Yeah, man. That
Okay.
was that was a big
What's
one.
your biggest I'm right? Like a guy that you were like super high on. We were both pretty low. If I remember correctly, we were both pretty low on Hanson Yang, right?
Yeah, man. Very
Okay,
low.
so far we're good on that one. I was extremely high on Carter Bryant, like exceptionally high. I'm not selling any stock. If anyone's selling stock, I'll continue to buy. I think he's going to be fine. It hasn't looked good so far. In the 47, 48 minutes he's played, he's looked awful. Apart from like one garbage time game in which he scored like 10 points or something, he's looked pretty bad. Other than that, though, is there a player where you're like, I was wrong so far?
Mm. Trey Johnson, I expected more from him, especially on the bad Wizards team with a lot of defenders.
Yeah.
He's producing, but it's not really the meaningful productiveness, if that makes sense. But again, Washington is very early in their rebuild, and they're gonna suck for 2 years at least. I was
Keyshawn
expecting a
George
little
looks
bit more from
amazing.
him.
Keyshawn
Yeah,
looks amazing. Keyshawn is to me like possibly the best of the best, like in terms of like all the players that they've picked up, right? All of them. We're talking Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, Bilal Coulibaly, Bub Carrington. They have so many draft picks, and not even to talk about the players they've taken from other teams in terms of second chance, second draft guys. Keyshawn George to me feels like the one substantial. Alex Sarr might be the second. So I wasn't super high on Keyshawn coming in. I am very high on him right now. I was very, very high on Bilal Coulibaly. I'm cooling off a little bit, pun intended. And I wasn't super high on Alex Sarr, and I'm actually warming up to him a little bit more. So that's a very funky, very interesting team to me, for sure.
Yeah, I think the Nets, yeah, it's looking bad for them. But they took teenagers and a heavy rebuild. Time should tell, man. I think they will win maybe 10 games at most.
What about Hugo
Guys like Devin,
Gonzalez?
etc.
Have you
Yeah,
seen any Hugo Gonzalez with the Boston Celtics yet? He's looked pretty good.
I saw a little bit of defensive plays. But again, it's not to say that's easy, but he's going to a system where there's very little chance to exceed his role. At
Mm,
Real Madrid, he was also playing with boundaries, and with Celtics, it's the same thing. I think his transition was easy because he played EuroLeague and Spanish League,
hmm.
and he's going to come in to play a role. But guys like Trey Johnson are expected to produce, to develop. Jeremiah fears the same thing. For Hugo, I think the transition was very easy because he goes to a winning team. A little bit similar, just like Colin Murray-Boyles. You didn't draft him to be the first option of this team, right? You play him just in a specific role. I think these guys are an advantage early because they only have to translate because they have
Yeah,
so many boundaries that they have to respect. And with Hugo Gonzalez, he doesn't have the chance to be this Celtics team's first or second option. No chance. He's gonna be one of the guys playing a role.
fair. Yeah, and I think that when I look at someone like you're saying that Celtics are a winning context, and of course they're not winning a lot of games, but they are a winning context team in the sense that they have a championship head coach. They have NBA champions on their team. Still, Jalen Brown and Derek White are still all-star level players. They do have a decent team. They're losing a lot. It's just like the Pacers. You have Rick Carlisle there. You have Pascal Siakam. That's an NBA champion right there. You have Andrew Demhart. There is like a residue of winning that is there. There is an established star, a pecking order. So even if they're not technically winning, it's okay because you're in a winning organization where winning is ultimately expected. And I expect that to sort of permeate through the coaching staff, training staff, the arena, the fan base, everything. So it is a good thing for, I think, Hugo. He's in a good position, and I think they will find the best uses for him. Um, any thoughts on like Yegor Demon so far with the Nets? I mean, the pull up jump shooting is looking okay, but he can't beat a single player off the dribble right now at all.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking, but again, physical development matters, man. I think he's a little bit too skinny to play a one full time because he has to get downhill. And guys like, okay, he can get downhill, and if he gets downhill, we have the physicality to beat this craft. So he's in a tough position. But the Nets knew when they drafted him. They took three teenagers at guard, and they need time. So it's very early to tell. I think the first year is only going to be experimenting with this guy, because 3-point shooting has been one of his weaknesses
Hmm.
of Denver. The Nets were like, okay, we're gonna suck anyway. Let's just develop this guy's shot and give him freedom to play the way that he wants a little bit. And we have the same with Ben Saraf, Nolan Traore plays in the G League. Doesn't matter. I think the Nets, yeah, they didn't really make the best decision in the draft, if that makes sense.
It's way too early to do a redraft. Way too early to be doing a
Yeah,
2025 redraft. But I am curious, based on what we have seen from Cedric Coward, everything looks effortless with him. Everything looks effortless. He looks like a 10-year vet out there. Cooper Flag is still the number one pick, right? If we do a
yeah,
redraft,
of course,
he's still the number
no
one
doubt.
pick. Dylan Harper is still the number two pick, right? No doubt. He looks amazing, by the way. Dylan
Yeah,
Harper has blown me away. Who is the number three? VJ still the number three pick if we do a redraft.
nah, I think it's gonna be Concanoople, man. In all honesty, that's far from where I had
Really?
him, but yeah, man, it should be him. I think Coward 3-4. Coward, it's between him and Coward at 3 and 4.
So VJ four, Coward five. Okay, okay. And then where do we go
Maybe
from
Coward
there?
4 and then VJ 5. And then Queen, it should be Queen.
Derek
Queen has
Queen
looked
six.
terrific, man, in the minutes that he has gotten. And after that, it's wide open. It can basically be everyone based on how the weeks develop. Maybe Colburn continues to play like this, or Will Richards scoring 40. Okay, we made a mistake on him. But I think the top five is pretty much set. And the crazy thing is, we are so freshman minded, is that Cedric Coward isn't even one of the favorites to win Rookie of the Year. It's crazy to me because he should be.
He should be. Um, I think after this group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have to talk about probably Colin Murray-Boyles. We should talk about Jeremiah Fears, who has looked very good despite his analytics
Yeah,
not being great, right? And I think you
I
could
think Will
still
Richard.
make Will Richard being that highly drafted would probably not fly, but I think he would. I think there's a few players here that for sure, in hindsight, should have been probably first round picks. Again, based on limited sample size, guys have gotten off to hot starts before. How they adjust will matter. But Will Richard, if I just undo this for a second, there are some players in the second round that I think should be first round picks. So to me, Ryan Kalkbrenner, first round pick, no brainer. Will Richard, first round pick,
Yeah,
no brainer. Another guy who should probably be a first round pick is Sion James, who the Raptor fans are going to see tonight. I think in time, I know he's been injured. I think Adu Thiero is supposed to be a first round pick. I think he should have been a first round pick.
yeah,
We'll
they could.
we'll see.
But let's see, the Lakers, bought in very cheaply, right? So
They did for sure. And like again, there's going to be guys like Rasheer Fleming, right? He was the 31st overall pick. I was shocked that he fell this far. Maxime Renault, I had him as high as 20th on my board at points 16 to 20 range. He falls all the way to 42. I'm crying. Javon Small. There's going to be guys who are going to emerge as top 30 players in this draft, and then there are going to be guys like maybe Ace Newell's looked pretty good. By the way, he's looked pretty good. But then there's going to be guys like Will Riley, maybe Joan Beranger, maybe shit. Like, I don't know, maybe Yegor Demon, maybe Carter Bryant, maybe Hanson Yang, maybe Nolan Traore. One of these guys is
yeah,
not going to
maybe
be.
Tyrese Proctor. He looked good as well, right?
He did.
Because
And then
they,
Ace
I'm
Bailey's
blanking on
also
his
looked
name,
okay.
but
Ace Bailey's looked okay. In some games he looked
yeah,
okay, in some games he hasn't looked okay. But I think, I think the world is right. Ace Bailey was not on the Cooper Flag Dylan Harper level. He hasn't looked like he was on the Cooper Flag Dylan Harper level. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think this draft is going to turn out to be very good, very deep. And it's like, sometimes we don't know what a draft is going to be. Like in 2021, people were like, oh, this is the draft everyone was hyped about. Scotty Barnes, 15 points per game, rookie of the year. Look at that draft now. Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Jalen Johnson. Like the whole East is dominated by the
yeah, it's just
2021 draft
basically
right
an
now.
all
Jalen
NBA,
Suggs.
all NBA draft. 5 or
Exactly.
6
Alperen
guys gonna be all
Şengün.
NBA players.
Şengün is probably the best player in Houston right now. Right? Scotty's the best player in Toronto. Jalen Johnson is emerging as the best player in Atlanta. Cade is clearly one of the best players in the league. He's the best player in Detroit. They're the number one team in the East. That's just 4 years ago. That 21-21 draft happened 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. So it's just like you got to be patient with these guys. We don't know, what these guys are going to become. Maybe Ace Bailey's a superstar. We don't know yet, but right now he don't look like it. Ah, yes, I completely forgot. Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner is, he is carrying shit down in Orlando. Davion Mitchell, who was the bust of the lottery in that year's draft, is now a starting point guard for the Miami Heat. Like that draft produced so much value. And by the way, a guy that wasn't drafted in that draft who went undrafted, Austin Reeves. He's averaging 30 points per
Yeah,
game.
it's
We're not
crazy.
even talking about him. So that's just such a great draft. So yeah, I think people should be patient. But yes, I think this draft will live up to the hype. I think Dylan Harper has been, to me, Dylan Harper and Derek Queen have been the most impressive rookies. Those two and Cedric Howard, those three have been just, every time I watch them, I'm like, wow, I see the all NBA potential here. Jeremiah Fears as well. In flashes, I can see it. So we'll see with that. Okay, let's turn our focus over to the 2026 NBA draft. I'll remind Raptor fans, please like this video, by the way. Please go follow Ersin over at Substack. The description is in the description. The link is in the description. So definitely go check out Ersin if you would like to follow him for his write-ups and his scouting reports throughout the season. It is free to follow him. So definitely go check him out. And yeah, let's talk about the 2026 draft. The Raptors have a first round pick that's probably going to be in the late teens, early 20s, given the fact that they're going to be a good team this year. No lottery pick for the Raptors this year. They'll have 2 second round picks, their own second round pick, which is protected 31st to the 55th. They're not going to be one of the 4 best teams in the league. So, they're going to have that pick and they're going to have the Lakers pick. So these are the picks that the Raptors have to work with. What can the Raptor fans start getting interested in? I'll remind you that we have a dire need for a rim protector in this draft.
Yeah, because I was thinking about the point guard, but then I was like, no, the guys that are playing are producing. And if you look at the center depth, yeah, it's Jacob Pearl. Yeah, he's not rim protecting, let's be honest. So I was like, okay, the centers make the most sense. And let's say you pick 20 is a fair range. Maybe from 70 to 21 or something like that.
Hmm.
Guys like, Patrick and Jr. from Duke makes a lot of sense. I'm not that high on Chris Sinek, but let's say he's a top 10 player, falls a little bit because you go to Houston for a reason.
Hmm.
Houston barely produces one and dones because it's not really their type of program to play like that.
Right.
But I like Ngoma a lot from Duke. He's a sophomore, returned from last year, 6'11", very athletic, big hands, make good decision, good play finisher, strong rim protector, a simple role, but a lot of untapped potential. I think these are the types of guys that Ujiri usually drafted. I don't know what the Raptors are doing from now on with their first round picks, but they should then stay away from the shooter. If they're
Right.
going to draft a guy, it's going to be someone with outliers, either at guard or at the five, in terms of the defensive impact at the five or at the offensive impact at the one. Nucleus of Dallas makes a lot of sense because he,
We're
five
not
years
going to pick
ago,
high
everyone
enough
would
for him.
scream Raptors.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to draft high enough to get him. So this is what NBA Draft Room has as the top 10 ranked centers in this draft. Obviously, a lot of these guys are going to fall well outside the range or above the range. I don't know where Chris Sinak is going to go or if he's going to go back to Houston. You're thinking with NIL, with Houston's program, with how far he is, there's a chance he actually foregoes his eligibility and just goes back to school. Probably would be best for him. I would really like to see what he can become because he's very talented. I just think his motor issues give me a lot of Kalel Ware vibes, and Kalel has been a mixed bag in the NBA. Hella talented, very good player, but you know, I think he could develop. Jaden Quaintance is another player from Kentucky. Obviously, last year we talked a lot about Tomislav Ivicic from Croatia via Illinois. There's a guy, Flori Bidunga, from
Yeah, from Kansas.
Congo, who plays at Kansas this year. That's going to be interesting. He's going to get a lot of limelight because he's playing with Darren Peterson. You talked about Patrick uh, Gongba, Ngongba. Is that the
Yeah, I
correct
think so.
pronunciation
And
from
Gomba, I
Duke?
think.
Yeah, and then of course there's Alex Condon. I'm not a huge fan of Alex Condon. There is a player who I am a very big fan of, and that's Henry Visar from North Carolina. Last year, via Estonia, he plays. He played last year for Arizona, and this year he's at North Carolina. So he's about 7'1" ish. He feels taller than 7 foot. He's listed at 7 foot, but he feels like 7'1", 7'2". So what are your thoughts on that center group? And it's just maybe the Raptors always pick best player available. So maybe center is not the way they go this year. Maybe they go with a power forward. Maybe they go with a point guard. I don't know.
I think Visar makes sense, but more so in the second round. He's not going to be a first rounder. If you look at that Arizona team from last year, they had another, Baltic State guy, Motius Krivos from Lithuania,
Hmm.
and Visa. Those were two guys. One of them should take a leap, but then one of them, I think it was Krivos, was injured, and then Visar had to go to Carolina because of they were a bit desperate for a little bit of depth and size at the five, and he's turning in going to have a big role there. Busan makes a lot of sense because how easy his game is actually as a play finisher, as a face-up scoring type of player.
Hmm.
But that's not the type of guy that the Raptors need. But
Right.
you get a 7 foot presence with the pedigree of coming from Europe, having some pro experience before he went to college, playing at Power Five schools is for his entire career. That's the type of guy that you should draft in the second round. I like Visor a lot. I like that you mentioned him. He's going to get a lot of runway with North Carolina because of they had no one at center to
What do you
put it
like
like
about
that.
him?
And right now,
Is it his touch? Like I liked some of his patience in the post. I liked his overall like ability to catch the ball. Um, I don't know. What do you like about him?
I think there are multiple things. I'd more so that in and out type of passer after post entry passes. Very patient. He can pass out of double team easy. and he has the leverage to get doubled because of how strong he is in the post with his footwork. Great
Mm-hmm.
touch around the rim. But if you're expecting like this guy should get 20 all by himself with his face up, that's not really his game. It's more so of that connecting type of five. His passing is good, not great, but is good with his leverage as a physical type of player inside. I think he does a lot with finesse, but he has soft touch. Shoots over both shoulders, finishes over both shoulders. I like that.
Is
His
there a,
game is quite easy.
is there a comparison that you can think of with him? Does he remind
Mm,
you of anybody?
no, not really. It
Okay.
reminds me of the role of the classic five from maybe 5 years ago. Post entry pass and then make a play. Either roll to the rim or make the pass. We
Mm-hmm.
don't see fives being used with post entry passes nowadays. It's more so shifting towards guards posting up, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But the Raptors should use that role versatility with him because he can scale his role down and make life easier for Jacopo, who shouldn't maybe play 40 minutes a game. That's crazy, right?
Right.
Take some burden off of him. Maybe these type of hockey substitutes, if that makes sense.
Right.
Same type of player, but to lower the burden of playing a guy like that heavy minutes. And that's a luxury, man, if you can get that in the second round.
Here's another deep pull in terms of centers who kind of fit what the Raptors like to do, and I'm curious how you feel about Ade Mara.
Hmm. I like him a lot, but it's more so the guy from before UCLA, if that makes sense, because he was playing at Spain at a very young age, and the Spanish guys is always fundamentals at number one, but they play with a lot of flair, so with these flashy passes, etc. He's a great, floor manager, if that makes sense, in terms of
Exactly.
how he executes his passing reads. Man, this guy's incredible. And Michigan, they played a lot of that 4 or 5 pick and roll last year, and both now with both guys gone, they had to bring something back similarly to what they were losing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they have Morris Johnson, who kind of fits the bill a little bit better, but he's more so suited for a transition team like the Heat, teams that like to play fast, more of an athletic five, if that makes sense. At 6'9", I
Sure.
think I like him a little bit more for the Raptors. Morris Johnson Jr. I think he's the best prospect on Michigan at the moment in terms of their forwards. But Atai Mara is more so the context has to be right because at UCLA he was not good at all. But again, UCLA had a lot of international
He's at
players, and
Michigan
they
this year, isn't he?
yeah,
He's
man.
going to be at Michigan this year. So we'll see. Um, okay. Now, typically, early on when we talked about doing this episode, you talked about point guards for the Raptors. Now, obviously, I've introduced the fact that Jamal Shead is awesome. I should probably also introduce that half the fan base agrees that our starting lineup doesn't have a single point guard. And Jamal Shead isn't exactly a starting point guard. He's probably going to be a backup for most of his life if, unless something drastically changes with his paint finishing or his shooting. So this team is still technically open to the idea of drafting a point guard. And if I'm looking at this draft, it feels like the strength is wings and point guards. Is that fair? Fair to say? Centers are a little bit like I'm looking at the very top. It's all wings for the most part. Apart from Cam Boozer, who is like a big, but is more like a wing big, a big wing big. And then I'm looking at the point guards, and there's some point guards in this draft that really, stick out to me, right? So one we talked about already, which is Sergio. That's one, big point
Yeah,
guard, 6'6" out of Spain. There's another guy who's now at Gonzaga this year, and that's Mario Saint Superi, who I really liked last year. That you and I we talked about him. Then there's Bennett Sturts, who inexplicably, was probably going to be a first round pick last year. He went back, to school at Iowa, and he is, probably one of the top 5 ranked point guards. And then there's another guy who dropped out of last year's draft, which is Tahad Pettiford, right? So those are some guys. Are there any guys that I'm missing in that group that you think Raptor fans might look at and say that could be a really good point guard prospect to watch?
nah, King's the Flemings, man. Because when I was writing my big board, I didn't rank him because I watched him this weekend for the first
Okay.
time, and I'm not the type of guy that's gonna rank guys that I haven't watched. That's silly. Doesn't make sense. But Kingston Flemings makes a lot of sense for the Raptors, man. 6'4", long guard, think he's close to 200 pounds, and he's strong, man, and tough. Plays for Houston this year. They got Miles Uzan back from last year. He had some draft buzz, went to school. Didn't understand why, because Kingston Flemings took his job, man. And he's not going to give it back to him. Has that old school explosiveness with a lot of good decision making when he gets downhill. He settled a little bit for jumpers. That's something that I saw in his high school film as well. And then when he's closing out on the defensive end, he gives away too much with closing out too deep. But those are minor errors that they were going to clean up this year. But I like Kingston Flemings a lot, man. I think I'm going to put him in my
Did he
lottery.
get like way stronger? Because like Kingston Flemings, if it's the same person I'm talking about, he like 170, dripping wet.
Yeah, he's now 190. And if you look at him, he looks a little bit, slim, but he's a little bit chiseled, man. He's tough as well. I think he's going to be Houston's best prospect. That makes sense. I'm not really that high on Christian Neck. I'm going to get a lot of flack for that, but I'm not the type of that really cares about that, because I want to call it the way I see it. Fleming's the real deal, man.
Well, my biggest issue with Chris was mainly, in high school. We talked about it before we started the show that like when I watched his high school tape, like I felt like it depended on which day I was going to watch him. I was going to get a different Chris. Like he was either going to be super dialed in, dominating the paint, or he was going to be settling for a lot of jumpers and just frankly dialed out. And I think the decision to go and play at Houston is probably a very encouraging thing because nobody goes and plays at Houston if they want to slack off. Like you're not going to slack off with that dude in charge. Okay.
Yeah.
And that program is all and I think Tugler is going to be his best friend, right, in the paint, and it's going to help him. And I think that is just a brilliant development decision for him. And what that tells me, hopefully, is that either he has great people in his ear that are putting him into a great program that is going to challenge him. Two, that he's willing to be challenged. Or three, that he is self-aware to know that this program will make him a better player and that he cares about becoming a better prospect. Because, again, freshmen rarely play big minutes in Houston. He's not going for the marketing. He's not going for the draft buzz. He's going for the development. And I really value that. When a prospect chooses a school, it tells me a lot about who they are, so that to me is like,
No, 100%, man, because it makes sense. Because he has some minor errors too. But because if you look at his level of talent, no doubt, he's one of the best players in this class. But again, the talent doesn't, determine anything in the NBA. It's more so about how dedicated are you to the game. And I don't know him, so I don't know how dedicated he is to the game. But if he's going to Houston, he's challenging himself to get better. And most of the guys going to Houston are not one and dones because that program is not really built that way. And if he goes, yeah, of course he can. But if you look at next year's class, it's not projected as strong as this one. So Sinek returning can easily be another top 5 potential pick next year. So he doesn't lose anything outside of, maybe he should wait for his NBA money a year later. But again, NIL is not really bad either. So
sure.
Kingston Flemings is that program's one and done. I think he should go one and done, man. And he had a game against Auburn, and I watched the previous games from that and a little bit of his high school stuff. The explosiveness, the toughness, the strength for his kind of slim frame, but at 6'4", he's the type of guy that you put at your one, man. I think he's that program's best prospect for this year. I like him a lot. Kingston Flemings. I didn't rank him on my board, and I feel silly for putting that out rather than waiting a little 1 week more before I watch him because I read it, man. Because this guy's gonna be a lottery pick. Wow, what a start, man.
You think he'd be a lottery pick? That
Yeah,
would be
100%. I like
be
him a lot more than Mikael Brown, etc. I like him a lot more than him as well.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel about this draft? I mean, we haven't even talked about Dash Daniels. Dash has been one of my favorite little youth prospects for like the last 2 years. Been watching him, really enjoy him. Have a lot of connections to Dash through like just people that know him and stuff. And it's just like it's been really cool to follow his journey. And how do you feel about this draft relative to last year's draft? Like, where's the strength? Where's the weakness? Because again, last year's draft has produced a lot of gems already. We did not talk about Nick Clifford over in Sacramento. I think he's looked solid in his minutes. I really do. I feel secure with him on the court. I actually feel sometimes better with him on the court than I do with DeMar DeRozan on the court. So I'm looking at this draft. How does this year's draft compare to 2025? Like strengths, weaknesses, top, bottom, middle,
Last year
second
was
round.
kind of top heavy, But I think this year's class should have like 15 to 20 starters, if that makes sense. There's a lot of depth at the top, and after that is a crapshoot, man, because we've seen last year a lot of guys return to school. So it really should determine how this year pans out. But
Okay.
this year should have like the top 20 picks, 90% are underclassmen, the new
Okay.
crop.
Cool.
Because
I'm a,
there's a lot of luxury for the guys picking in the top 10, man, because you really have to mess things up if you want to fail in this class.
well, okay. I'm actually I'm gonna just let me see if I can pull up your big board. Do you have your big board up yet?
Yeah, I wrote the article this weekend,
Oh, there we go.
and
Got
I
it.
didn't rank a couple of guys I didn't rank them. That's your consensus, top 15, 20 guys, because I haven't watched them. And
Okay.
I watched Christian Neck from his high school stuff, and I waited with him. And I kind of leaning towards him returning, but Kingston Fleming is just a big name missing there.
Okay. So among the top 20 guys, let's just go through, just some of the guys that you like. Carter Knox, you have him ranked 20th. So to anybody who wants to read along and just find out about these players, I'm going to put a link to Ersin's article in the comment section here. There you go. There it is. You can open it up while we talk about these players. I'm starting at Carter Knox because you have him ranked 20th. So Carter Knox, Arkansas. Um, what do you think he's a starter?
In the NBA, I
Yeah.
think he's going to be a starter in the NBA if everything clicks. And what I
Okay.
mean by that is at Arkansas, he grew into a role last year,
Hmm.
and this year he really has to show it. But this season kind of began in a bad way. But what I like about him is the physical readiness. Physical readiness. I'm not going to mention that he's related to the other Knox from the Knicks. That's not relevant.
that's
But
not a
again,
that's not a selling point at all.
but if you look at him, at his body, he's kind of like Eddie Piero, man. This guy belongs in the NBA physically, but he's
Right.
kind of should embrace his role and kind of scale his role up. I'm trusting the Arkansas development from Coach Calipari there, man, because if a guy is returning to his program, he has a plan for him. And Carter
Yeah.
Knox had a lot of potential at the end of last year,
Hmm.
but has had a slow start this year. That's okay. It's still
Do you
maybe
mind
fourth or fifth
do
game
you
right
mind me
now.
having this up?
Yeah, of
This is
course, no issue,
your
no issue.
article. Okay, so you
Yeah.
have Morez Johnson. Uh, that's a center prospect out of Michigan. Then you have Mikael Brown.
Yeah, I got
Jade,
a lot of slack for that one, man.
yikes,
Having him
yeah,
at 18.
yeah. Jaden Quintons, Patrick Longba. I'm gonna have to figure out how to say that name from Duke. Then
Yeah.
Hans
If you're gonna
Steinbach.
talk about a win, this is my win, man. Because Steinbach 2 years ago, I watched him for playing for the Germany in the FIBA tournament. I was like, this guy is crazy, man. He should go to college. And I wrote about him very early. I think it was a year ago in October or November.
Yeah.
And this guy is one of the best players fundamentally that I've seen in the last couple of years, without exaggeration, just for the FIBA tournaments.
So
It's
anyone
like,
who
wow,
wants
this guy
to,
plays in the right way in such
right?
a high fashion, and he has the physical tools to develop into something really not special in terms of the NBA, but he has that college star potential, man.
To
He's
anyone
getting
who,
a lot of buzz so
yeah,
far.
to anyone who wants to, if you go to Ersin's article, you can literally click on this and get a full, scouting report on him as well. So you have Sergio very high,
Yeah, I like him a lot,
comparatively
man,
speaking.
because
You have him as a lottery pick, so that is interesting. Then you have Christian Anderson Jr. at 13, LeBaron Philon at 12. What do you like about him? Because I can't tell you that I'm super high on him.
if you look at last year with Alabama, he grew into the role that he's having now. I think in terms of the handle, one of the best in the class, maybe even the best, with Phila. He has that old school point guard level, but with the combo guard role. He can scale his role up, scale his role down. He should scale his role up this season, but last year he was, in terms of his shot developed very well, but in terms of how getting downhill. Because Alabama is all about dunks and threes. They embraced it so much. They just want to maximize that number of threes in the game. And with him on the floor, with his rim pressure and decision making, wow, I was like, this guy is good, but he's not good enough to play in the NBA right now. So he should return to school. and he did what's best for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he went to the NBA, he's not going to play into his best of his capabilities. But with Alabama, he's playing in an NBA system with the freedom to run the show just like he wants, you know. But with Alabama being one of the best teams in the SEC, Phylon is going to be their number one guy to follow. Aiden Holloway is another guy who played the guard. I like him as well, but Phylon has that, you know, in terms of 20 points a game,
Right.
winning 20 points a game type of potential. And that makes a lot of sense.
Nate meant you're lower on him than the consensus. Why?
Yeah, because physically he's far from ready to play in the NBA. He's so slim, and the level of skill, I think the level of skill puts him in the top five of this class. But an NBA team drafting him should focus on, okay, when does this guy play?
Mm-hmm.
Because for him to succeed, he has to play in the paint a little bit, but he will get destroyed in the paint, man, because physically he's so far behind in terms of he's just, you know, slim. And that's okay because not everyone has to bulk up to 240 pounds at the age of 20, right? So, but
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, you know, the raw potential and the talent and the level of skill, that guy is already proving it at Tennessee, man. And I like that he went to Tennessee because Tennessee is they're very consistent with their defense. They always have great defenders, and they have the team structure not like Houston, but they have the specific structure with for 10 plus years. You know, with Coach Barnes there, Nathan chose right the program to focus on, you know, completing his game because the offensive potential is not the issue. It's more so rounding out his role and improve as a defender as well, on top of getting stronger. Man, I like Ament a lot, but I wouldn't touch him with a top five pick.
Interesting. You have Miranin, who is the Finnish player,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
kind of
who
messed up
blew
there,
up.
man, because I went all in on, okay, this guy should be eligible, but I saw that he was a junior in high school, man. So I was like, okay, that's something that I had to double check a little bit better. He went to Partizan now. He's playing for Coach Obradovic,
Yeah,
and maybe he will find a way to be eligible because you don't go to Europe if you
he
have to
should
play
be.
2 more years, right? Yeah.
He should be eligible because he's born March 4th, 2007. We just had Cooper Flag in this draft. He's born 2006. Shouldn't that count?
I don't know, but I think there's something like he has to finish high school or something before he can be eligible. But I
Okay.
can't imagine that he has to do another year after this one. It's kind of in the middle. I have to dig deeper into that one, but it's most of the logic for me because why would you go to Partizan if you have a full season after this one? It doesn't make sense. Let's say he has a bad year here,
Yeah.
very hard for him to, you know,
Yeah,
get
because
back from
because
that.
Cam Boozer is technically old, like younger than him, and he's eligible. So it's just a high school thing. Cam.
I don't know.
So a lot of people have said that this draft has like 4 or 5 franchise players. Okay, I don't know about that. That would be a very rare draft. That would be basically 1996. So let's go through guys that you think are franchise players. I'm assuming your number one player and my number one player, AJ DeBonsa, is a franchise level talent. How do you feel about
100%.
Darren Peterson and Cam Boozer as franchise level talents? Are they the types of guys where we draft them in Phoenix and suddenly it's their team? We draft them in New Orleans and okay, Derek Queen, you're nice. Jeremiah Fears, you're nice, but this is now Cam Boozer's team. Is that the level of franchise level talent we're talking about?
Mm. With Darren Pearson, I'm sure that he's going to be a franchise player, 100% from day one. I'm hoping he goes to the Kings because the Kings suck this year and they have their own pick.
Please
And
God.
if they win the lottery or have a top three pick, that's an amazing spot for him to start his career.
Okay. I just want to say something.
And yeah,
I just have to say this. Please God, do not let any good player go to the Kings ever. Okay? That franchise ruins everything. Okay? Them and the Pelicans deserve no grace from God or anyone for what they have done to young players over the last 10 years. I refuse to
yeah,
believe that everyone just goes there and forgets how to play basketball, okay? I refuse. Okay? They suck. They're bad organizations. I hate like the structure, the organization, the culture in those teams. I have a lot of love for Sacramento because, you know, again, grew up a Pedro Vlade fan, you know, Weber fan, loved them under Adelman. But man, over the last 15 years, it's been rough. So I am really praying that one, like personally as a Raptor fan, I hope these guys go out west, all of them, like every team. But two, I really hope they don't go to the Kings. Okay, the Kings, specifically the Pelicans, are a second follow up. Let them go to the Suns. Let them go anywhere else. But yeah, also there's a the something that I was talking about the other day, which is interesting. There's a massive gap in talent between Western and Eastern Conference in the NBA, right? So whenever you look at strength of schedule, because the Eastern Conference teams get to face each other twice as often as they face Western Conference teams, the losses count the same for the West. So the worst team in the West is going to be eligible for like a top three, top four pick, even though they might be the ninth best team in the league. So the West keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger. I actually think, to balance out the conferences, you probably need AJ and Darren to end up in the East just to balance it out. And I think a team like Boston, Indiana, like, as much as I hate the fact that two conference rivals will get stronger, I think if you care about AJ, if you care about Darren, the best place for these guys probably to go is either
Yeah,
Utah, Boston, Indiana. These teams all have their picks. I don't want them going to Philly. I don't want them going to Sacramento. I don't want them going to New Orleans. But yes, anyways, that was my little rant on how much I hate the Sacramento Kings right now. But yeah, like, so Cam Boozer, you're not sure if he's a franchise level talent.
nah, I don't. I don't think he is. And the
Mm,
differentiating part for me with Darren Peterson and AJ DeBonsa is they have to be the number one options to succeed. And with Cam Boozer, I don't see the I'm the number one type of guy role in him. He will be productive at Duke. And then it will be harder for me to explain why he isn't that. But his role doesn't really seem scalable to me to the point where he's the number one guy on the team. And the
I mean,
crazy part is he's won everything at the high school level. I
yeah.
think his team is the best high school team ever in terms of what they accomplished. But it's more so the system of he has his little brother at at point guard.
Hmm.
The context is right, and they were a very rich team as well. They just bought the best players, and they wanted like that. Not to take anything away from him, but the reason that he went to Duke is because he has to prove that he's the same as Cooper Flag, right? And Cooper Flag had a great supporting team around him with Zion James, with veteran leadership around him. This
Right.
guy doesn't have it this year. There's a lot of underclassmen who do. Doesn't really take away any of their value because they will contend for a title regardless. But with Cooper
Well,
Flag in the NBA,
mhm.
his his type of role doesn't really scream number one option to me by the
Okay.
slightest.
Well, that's interesting because so far his numbers are ridiculous. The Duke Blue Devils have started out the season 4-0. Okay. Some numbers for context. Per 100 possessions, he is averaging 42.2 points per game, 19 rebounds, 8 assists, 3.3 steals, 3.3 blocks, 37% from 3, 55% from the field, and 66% from 2. So 79% free throw shooter, athletic as hell, 7 offensive rebounds per 100 possessions, and a ridiculous 21 box plus minus. If that 21 box plus minus, again, in a conference as strong as the ACC, were to stand, that would obliterate Cooper, Cade, uh, forget Cade. Actually, he doesn't count in this. It would obliterate Zion. It would obliterate
Yeah,
everybody. So that 21 Boston minus that he and Darren Peterson are currently putting up, these two, it's insanity. Now, obviously, small sample size. Go play harder competition. We'll see what these numbers hold up to. It's easy to do this for 4 games. It's nearly impossible. If this number, I think Cooper was like 16 boxes minus last year. That's madness. It was insane. He's a really young kid. Cam Boozer is younger than Peterson, younger than AJ DeBonsa. If he manages 16 boxes minus at his age, I could see a team trying to crown him as a franchise player. Because if Paolo is a franchise player, then why is Cam Boozer not a franchise
yeah,
player?
because he should be. If you look at this how he's built, he's a man child, man. As a teenager, it's crazy. I think he's 250 pounds, is pure muscle. But it's more so me trusting my gut, man, because the context was always too right for him, if that makes sense. And it sounds maybe like I'm holding on to my take, which is the case. But I have I watched him play to back it up for myself. It's more so it's like the numbers they kind of inflate what the guy really is. And he went the
So you think
truth
it's a little
because
too
yeah,
good to be true, right? So you want to see him in a
for
different
me it feels like
context.
that way.
What would he have to do to get you to believe that he is a franchise player?
If he sustains this and Duke went on to win the title, go to the Final Four with this type of production, just like Flag last year, okay, then I have to take back my words, man, because then he has proven it. But right now it's very early in the season. But again, he
Mhm.
has to show a complete game because he's always dominated with physicality because he's always been so much stronger than the rest. And in the NBA, that evens out.
I don't
And,
know if
and
it's
that's
going
why,
to. So here's the thing. I watch the NBA a lot more than I watch collegiate basketball. And in fairness to all of our viewers, Erison has watched 100 times more college basketball this year than I have. I haven't gotten around to it yet. But I did study a lot of Cam Boozer tape because a lot of people are trying to tell me that he's this amazing player, and I just didn't see it. I honestly didn't. I think part of this is because I didn't like his dad. I'll be honest. It's a
yeah,
bias thing. I did not like
right.
Carlos Boozer at all. I hated his game. I didn't like him. I didn't like him as a prospect. Didn't like him as a collegiate player. Didn't like him as a professional. Hated watching him play. So sometimes, I have to address the bias there. And then I watched a lot of his high school tape this summer, just kind of curious to prep for the season. And now seeing what he's doing and seeing the NBA, I'm like, I actually think he's going to be strong even at the NBA level. Because I'm looking at what Derek Queen's doing, right? Like Derek Queen's strong for collegiate level, but everyone's like, well, what about, you know, Alperen Şengün, your countryman, Alperen Şengün, strong for the NBA, right? This physicality thing of just being able to shift guys out of the way, and Cam Boozer is just so strong. So I think strength is back in the NBA, man. Like the strongest players in the league are the most successful players right now. Nikola Jokic, Alperen Şengün, like these guys are all succeeding. Scotty Barnes is succeeding. Jalen Johnson succeeding. These guys are all massive. He is like cut from that same cloth. Where like I am almost more sure that he is going to succeed now than I would have been 3, 4 years ago. So that's just kind of like my view on it. I'm definitely sticking to my AJ DeBonsa as the number one player in this draft bias, even though I think we can make a case that Darren Peterson's had a better season so far, easily.
Yeah, because of AJ has been good for so long, you can't take it for granted. And and to be honest, he's kind of bit. He looked lazy at the high school scene as well because he's so good. He doesn't have to prove anything
I mean,
anymore.
he played so many minutes. He played so many games. He plays both ends. I had his trainer on to discuss his proprioceptive, his process and everything. And he just let me know. He's like, man, he's putting in crazy work. He's getting up 4 a.m., 5 a.m. every single day. He's putting in like 3 a days to get ready for this season. That being said, Darren Peterson is like very talented. And I always fought this idea that AJ was not the number one player in this draft. I'm like, no, it's got to be AJ. I'm actually like backing off of it right now where I'm like, you know what? Let's see this play out for a second here because the last time there was an open draft with 3 guys at the top, I was very sure about Chet being the number one pick in 2022. I was very sure. I was like, nah, Chet Holmgren. I watched Chet Holmgren in high school. Chet Holmgren's amazing. Chet Holmgren's gonna be amazing. And then I saw Jabari Smith and I changed it. So I was like, no, Paolo's a third pick, Jabari first, Chet second. I don't know. I just became enamored with this idea of Jabari becoming like this amazing defender. So yeah, sometimes like, you change your mind and you should have trusted your gut. If I could go back in time, yes, Chet is my number one pick in that draft. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, I don't want to get locked into this. AJ DeBonsa is the number one pick in this draft and then miss what Darren Peterson and Cam Boozer are doing. But I think for sure, yeah.
I have the same thing. You have your bias, right? But I hold on to my ones for a little bit too long. With Conquerupa, I did the same thing, man. This is the bad habit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I actually had the same bias against Concanipo. I had the same bias initially because I have a natural fear, not fear. It's so stupid to say fear. It's like I'm talking about a spider or snake. No, I have a natural aversion towards white shooters because I feel like they get overrated by a lot of guys, especially in college. And I've seen so many of them fail in the NBA level. But with Con, watching him, low key, I was more impressed at times by him than I was by Cooper last year. He's really good. He's really good. So yeah, shout outs to Flavius Film saying inside sources have confirmed that the Raptors are looking at into Anthony Davis and Ja Morant. Oh man, please get Anthony Davis. But crazy, crazy. If either of those trades happen, I will be shocked. Anyways, Ersin, any final thoughts here before we get out of here? We've been chatting about the draft for 80 minutes now. Any final thoughts? Any people that you think are deep sleepers in the draft that you want people to look into? Anything you want to plug? Go ahead.
Yeah, the first one is Neoclis of Dollars, man. Make sure to dial it in. But he's getting a lot of popularity on Twitter. With this type of game that he scored 30, that's gonna help him a lot. But it's more so if you're gonna focus on a guy that's not really discussed, Sergio De La Rey from Valencia. I wrote about him. That was more than 2 years ago, man. But it's he's ascending so much in the right direction. This current report from then doesn't really back up what his potential is. It's kind of that old school, traditional top end European floor manager, that type of game, but more so in a modern NBA type of jacket. He has that flair. Fundamental Spurs, but he plays with a lot of flair, man. And I like that you mentioned Mario Saint Superior as well with Gonzaga. And he
I
was
like
more
him.
of a scorer in Spain, but he
Mhm.
translated very early at Gonzaga, man. Good Gonzaga is an old team. I think they're older than the Nets, if that makes sense. The Zags.
Relatively speaking, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. Mario Saint Superi, I mean, he's off to a pretty tepid start so far. 8 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. But he's only playing 19 minutes a game off the bench, and hopefully he can play himself into a bigger role throughout the year. But so far, so good. There's nothing wrong with it. I followed a little bit of his film last year, and he seems like a good offensive process point guard, and we don't really have a lot of those. I'd be curious to see if the jump shooting holds, though. That'll be really interesting. Yeah. Anyways, man, thanks a lot for coming through. Appreciate you. Let people know where they can find you.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. And I'm rooting for the Raptors big time this year. We discussed it last time as well. When you were okay, we can have the top six seed this year, especially with the injuries in the East. And right now, everything is going very good for the Raptors. So I'm rooting for the Raptors, man. But again, this is
Absolutely.
where everything of my work is at, man. Substack. I think I'm at about 270 articles in less than 3 years since I started doing this, one or two a week. That's my pace for this year. I spend a lot of time watching the new crop, but I have a lot of new guys to watch as well. And that's what I do, man. I just watch one or two full games a week, a lot of film from Instat on these prospects, and I just start writing. But my focus is a lot of the less coveted guys. So you don't see me writing about guys like Cam Booz or AJ ones. I will never do that because everything's been said about them. So I don't have anything to add. So that's why I'm focusing on the less coveted names, just like Amel Letang. You see him right there, a Frenchman, 7-footer at Dayton. I think he's going to be a guy for this year. Or Dayan Nessa from Switzerland. He's at Cleveland State. I like him a lot as well. But I focus on these less coveted guys. Guys that you're gonna hear about in the NBA, just like for example Chuck Hepburn or Colin Murray-Boyles from last year. And I
Yeah.
just roll with that. But again, with a full-time job, you don't have 40 hours a week to work hoops, man. So I hope to get
Yeah.
there one day, but yeah.
One of our members, Cass, is asking Erson,
Hey,
how
shout out to
often
Cass.
do you update your big board?
I think 2 months, something like that. I have my first option, but as the season goes on, a lot of things change, man. Because there's something that I always believe. If you look at these preseason boards, 90% will change. Maybe 99% will change. There's a lot of
Right.
guys you never heard of ascending, and a lot of top guys, quote unquote, fall on the rankings. Because yeah, I think
Totally.
2 months is a good time span for me. But I focus on. I'm not doing top 100 anymore. That doesn't make sense. More so top 50 because after 50 is a crapshoot. After 30 basically is a crapshoot because everything can happen. It's always so context minded, because
It is.
everything changes in the NBA. Let's say the Celtics pick number one, they don't go for a point guard. At least I don't think they should because I think they will go for Demensa. But let's say the Kings pick number one, they should go for Dan Peterson. Two, I'm kind of dissecting, but I'm trying to adjust to what the NBA needs. That's my whole idea of the draft philosophy. I just watch what the NBA needs and that's what I focus on.
Right. Justin T asking if Ersin could draft again in 2025, where would CMB go? I think we talked
I
about a
think
little
it's in
bit.
the same. I think in the same
7
league.
to 10, 7 to 11,
Yeah,
around
that's
there.
fair.
Yeah,
It
I
won't be
mean,
top five, never. But again, 7 to 11 with the top role player in his thing, and if he develops, great value, man.
yeah, I think the one thing with me is like his feel and his defensive floor is so high that if I could get a guarantee that he was going to be a 33% three-point shooter for the rest of his career, I would probably go as high as top 6 with him. There's still some limitations, and I understand people have this tendency to overhype, a certain player because they really like him or he's exceeding their expectations. And the same player that you overhype is the same player you're going to be shitting on 3 years from now. Why can't he finish at the rim? So there are limitations that Jeremiah Fears has. Obviously, right now there's limitations that Derek Queen has. There's also star upside that certain guys have, and that's always going to be factored in when you're drafting someone top 5, especially with the benefit of hindsight. So, Con Knipple, his game, his shooting, his elite, dimensionality in terms of his movement shooting, his processing, he's point adjacent, like type of, wing, like where he makes such quick reads. And you know, again, he's off to a really hot start. How will he adjust? Teams are already guarding him. They're running him off the line as much as they can, though. It's not like Con Knipple is catching people off guard, like, oh, I didn't know he could shoot. He was a top 6 pick. He went to Duke. Everybody knows, everybody in the whole world knows he can shoot, and no one can stop it. So he is just really impressive, and he is a lot younger than CMB. So I totally understand the logic of, picking guys like Derek Queen, guys like that. But hey, man, CMB was a late bloomer. While all these guys, a lot of these guys were 4-star, 5-star, McDonald's All American types, he was a 3-star working his way. So if the Raptors fans are being hopeful, maybe they hope that he will continue working longer than everybody else does. And he can just kind of polish out like that late career growth like Pascal did, Because like I don't think 2 weeks into the rookie season, we could have said Pascal should be a top 10 pick. Now I think we can't argue that he wouldn't be a top 3 pick in the 2016 redraft. So, this is a long game, right? So yeah. One more question is from Kano Agito. Sorry. Do guys know if Mika Marian is planning to enter the NBA draft as opposed to EuroLeague? Very intriguing player. We already answered this question, sort of, right? Which is we don't
Yeah,
know.
don't know
Yeah,
if he's going to be eligible. I think he could, but again, when I was I do my big board, I was like, yeah, I had to double check it. That was sloppy. But if
absolutely.
he is eligible, he's a top 10 pick in this class, man, no doubt.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a couple of questions, a couple of things. We don't have any super chats or member chats, but there's a few that I quickly highlighted, and I'll answer them very, very quickly here. Rob, would you still take Carter over CMB?
That's
Uh,
yes,
uh, uh-oh. Yes, I would. If Yeah, so I still would. I haven't been impressed with what I've seen from Carter. We've I've talked about it, with his dad already. It's just about like things are just way too fast for him right now, and obviously with CMB Con, the game has slowed down already. It's all very, very slow. They're moving around like veterans, right? Cedric Howard, Neat Clifford. There's guys where it's like it's moving really nice and slow for them, and then there are guys like Carter Bryant, Noah Sengay, Kaman Malawach, where the game is going a million miles a minute for them. Their brain hasn't slowed down. That will come. And if it doesn't, they'll be out of the league. If Carter's brain doesn't slow down in terms of like how he's processing the court, he will be in the G League next year, and he'll probably not have his rookie contract picked up, and it'll be like Cody Williams, right? I still think from what I've seen from Carter in summer league, preseason till now, the body of work tells me he is going to be a top 10 player in this draft. That's how I feel about it. We'll see. Yeah. Uh Dig It A said 69 likes. I can't be the one to break it.
Yeah, it's a nice one, man.
Nice. Okay. Well, please break it. Ideally, let's get it up to 200, and I will catch you guys after the Raptors hopefully beat the Charlotte Hornets. I got to tell you, I'm not confident about this at all. Not confident at
That's a
all. I
tough
don't know.
matchup, man.
It's a weirdly tough matchup, man. Like we're at home, we're feeling good about ourselves, we're winning, and then it's like the Hornets are coming to town. It's just like this is not your father's Hornets, man. This is a good team. And I think Kalkbrenner is back tonight. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, Ersin, thanks a lot for coming through, man. Appreciate you. I hope people check out your work on Substack. It's been really fun reading it throughout the year and catching up.
Thank you for having me on, man. A lot of fun, you know. And
All right.
let's go Raptors. I'm rooting for you guys to have a top 6 type of season, where we're getting not going for the lottery, but a 25th pick. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
All right. Give this video get chat W's for Ersin. I'm getting into the streaming lingo, right? Like, I mean, I'm trying to get into the streaming lingo. It's like give W's to Ersin, you know. I'm usually like so blind to the chat. Like sometimes, like unless like a super chat comes my way, I'm like usually not paying attention. I'm doing a better job of now paying attention. We got WWE, W's.
Thanks, guys.
Nice. All right, man. Take care. Have a good one. Peace.
Take care. See ya.